This is the Encyclopedia Britannica's definition of the failed state, and I want you to listen to this real quick because it's going to sound hauntingly familiar. A failed state is a state that is unable to perform the two fundamental functions of the sovereign nation state in the modern world system. It cannot project authority over its territory and peoples, and it cannot protect its national boundaries. The governing capacity of a failed state is attenuated such that it is unable to fulfill the administrative and organizational tasks required to control people and resources and can provide only minimal public services. Its citizens no longer believe that their government is legitimate, and the state becomes illegitimate in the eyes of the international community. Are you with me so far?
Yep.
A failed state is composed of feeble and flawed institutions. Often the executive barely functions,
Yeah.
while the legislature, judiciary, bureaucracy, and armed forces have lost their capacity and professional independence and their professionalism. A failed state suffers from crumbling infrastructures, faltering utility supplies and educational and healthcare facilities, and deteriorating basic human development indicators such as infant mortality and literacy rates.
Yep. And the literacy rates have been going in the toilet since, I don't know, the late
20
80s.
years now. For
I would say
really
the late
bad-
80s in the real bad cities.
Yeah.
And then it grew out like a infestation,
Yes.
including math.
Yes, it was deliberate. Somebody was talking about that online today, how people were doing advanced calculations with slide rules today.
Yeah.
Most kids don't even know what a slide rule is. One guy was talking about he found a math book from like the 30s and tried to solve some of the equations in there with a calculator.
Yep.
And couldn't do it, didn't know how. And he considered himself fairly decent at math.
Well, apparently he's been lied to.
So failed states create an environment of flourishing corruption and negative growth rates where honest economic activity cannot flourish.
Say that one more time.
Where honest economic activity cannot flourish.
And what state pops in your mind when you hear that? California.
California is in an advanced state of decay, as is Washington State
And New York.
and New York.
Yes.
I would wager Atlanta, Georgia is as well.
I would say every city that had a summer of love
Mm-hmm.
in 2020 is going to fail.
Yes.
In my opinion.
The funny thing is, and I work downtown Detroit and I deal with downtown Detroiters on the daily now. Detroit has sort of entered a state of suspended animation with its decay.
Well, they already butt fucked themselves in the dick hole after the riots, and then Coleman Young got in.
1968, yeah.
And Coleman Young was there for what, 20 some odd years?
Yes.
He ran out all the big business. Yeah. The reason why all the suburbs around Detroit are so were flourishing for years is because all of the workers that were in Detroit said, fuck you, this is bullshit. Mm-hmm. Just literally a couple miles down the road, they're in another city, they set up shop, it's cheaper, there's less headaches.
Yep. Most of Detroit, when I was a young boy, most of Detroit was white. When we were young,
mm-hmm.
There a lot of the areas around Gratiot, maybe, and the Lower West Side, those were black. But East Detroit, there were a lot of Puerto Ricans there as well. And
you got
Hamtramck,
Mexican town there too.
That's on the west side.
Yeah, and they have good restaurants.
That's true.
Let's not knock them. And
that's true.
Those
Jose's
servers
Tacos.
have nice chichis.
Jose's Tacos.
They have nice chichis. I went down there.
The Mexican 3D baby printers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice
chichis.
Those are quality.
That's why I like Latina women. I'm just saying.
That's true. That's true. Anyway, the rest of the cities in the U.S., the rest of the big cities, Minneapolis is basically Mogadishu now.
Yeah.
It is to the point where you can't walk down the street if you are white in many cities. New York, Minneapolis, Chicago, LA, Seattle are all in this mess. Houston and Dallas don't seem to have gone that far just yet. But this failed state, I mean, this describes the United States of America right now.
I mean, listen. All right. Just 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a little longer than that. When I was homeless, I lived on a budget of about $480 a month.
That's about 15 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I lived out of my car.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally had to eat off the dollar menu at McDonald's, Burger King, what have you. Even off the Del Taco menu, which I really love. I couldn't do that today. With how much it is for fast food now, I would starve.
Yeah.
I literally would have to like buy food in bulk and cook it somewhere to be able to eat.
Yeah.
That was 15 years ago.
Yep.
And as little as 5 years ago, there was still the dollar menu. It was a little bit more expensive. I would say like a nipple and a cunt hair.
It was like the $2.50 menu.
Yeah, it went up a little bit. But now it's just astronomical, especially when you have, states playing around with the minimum wage.
There are places in California where a Big Mac is like $16.
Yeah, you can go suck it, man. I mean, I'm not going to pay that kind of money for a hamburger that smells like, a baby diaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
that's not going to happen.
No.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.